Hello and welcome to the 36th. My name is Tyler Crone. I am the chair. We are so excited this afternoon to be interviewing and welcoming Bardi Martin to join us to tell us more about the race for the King County District Court Position 1 race. Over to you, Bardi, to introduce yourself and welcome.
Okay. Well, thank you all so much for having me here today. My name's Judge Bardi Martin. I currently hold position one of the King County District Court West Division. I'm a lifelong King County resident. I moved here at 3 weeks old when I was adopted. I attended school here, college here, law school here, and chose to raise my family here. I've also lived in nearly every legislative district within the city of Seattle. This is the community that shaped me, and this is the community I keep to continue serving. I'm honored to say that I was unanimously appointed to the King County District Court to serve as a judge just this last January. Prior to that, I was a pro tem judge and presided over hundreds of civil and criminal calendars in nearly every King County District Courthouse. My temperament is one of the strongest assets I bring to the bench, and I think that's rooted in my family and upbringing. I was raised in a family dedicated to public service. In my family, differences were accepted, appreciated, and obvious. Two of my siblings are biological. Another sister and I were both adopted a week apart. She was born in Seoul, South Korea, and I'm of Puerto Rican descent. Growing up in a multiracial, multi-ethnic, and neurodiverse family fostered an awareness of how people, even within the same family, can experience institutions differently based on perception, background, or circumstances. It also fostered a genuine curiosity about people, regardless of their background, and that informs my approach as a judge. I strive to seek each person before me as an individual and treat them with respect, patience, and impartiality. Prior to taking the bench, I've had a 20-year legal 20 years of legal experience spanning criminal, civil litigation, and appellate advocacy. I was a public defender at both the trial and appellate level. I've represented indigent clients, safeguarding their constitutional rights. I've been a managing member of a law firm and covered many different types of cases. I look forward to continuing to serve our community with patience, humility, and compassion. And I also look forward to answering any questions that you have for me today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anita will ask our first question.
Voters don't always understand the difference between the different courts and what cases they handle. What is the job of the King County District Court West, and how do you explain the differences between courts at different levels?
Okay, so the King County District Court is our community's front door to the justice system. It handles high volume, everyday matters that directly affect people's lives, criminal misdemeanors, traffic infractions, protection orders, small claims, civil cases up to $100,000. These are often the cases where people interact with the court for the first time. So how we conduct ourselves is very important. It matters a great deal. We need to handle cases efficiently, respectfully, and clearly. Um, the district courts explain the difference in the courts as follows. District courts are courts of limited jurisdiction. That means they only have jurisdiction over cases that the legislature has expressly granted them authority. Um, Superior courts have general jurisdiction over state and criminal matters, so they don't have those same limitations and can hear most types of cases. The the superior courts also act as appellate courts for the district courts. There are three Washington State appellate courts, the first, second, and third division, and they hear matters that were appealed from the superior courts. And then lastly, there's the Washington State Supreme Court that hears cases appealed from those appellate courts. Um, each level has a distinct role, and the district court's role is critical. We move, as I said, we move a high volume of calendars efficiently while ensuring due process and meaningful access to justice. It's King County District Court actually is handles the highest volume of cases of any court in the state. And so it is an honor to be serving on that court now, and I look forward to continuing to serve as a district court judge.
Thank you. Our next question will be asked by Will.
Thank you, Judge Martin. Artificial intelligence or AI is not always a well-defined or well-understood term. How would you define AI, and how do you think the court should approach using it in day-to-day situations?
Okay. As far as me defining AI, I'm not
Actually,
a
just to
technician.
do a quick interrupt, that was not one of the questions that we had sent before. Sorry, we
Sure.
swapped it out.
Oh,
Will pasted in the chat. I believe the question was around most non-lawyers or folks not in contact with the court don't really know how to make a decision on how to vote for judges, and many don't vote because of that. How do you recommend voters figure out who to vote for in a judicial race? And how do we ensure that the judicial races do not become de facto partisan?
okay. Well, judicial races can be challenging for voters because they don't have those cues to look out. Judicial races are nonpartisan races, so there should not be party affiliation involved. So that makes it difficult because there aren't those cues. Uh, one of the first things voters should look at is experience. Has the candidate handled the type of cases the court sees? Have the candidates demonstrated an ability to manage a courtroom effectively? Second, temperament. Judges need to be patient, impartial, and the ability to listen, have the ability to listen, especially in high stress environments. Voters' pamphlet statements are a great place to look to see what the judicial candidate has to say. Um, about their judicial approach. Integrity is and judgment are also highly important. They can demonstrate fairness, respect for the rule of law, and understanding of the limits of the judicial role. So those are all things that I think are important to look for in a candidate. Sources that you can get that information at include, as I mentioned, the a voter pamphlet statement, also bar association ratings, you can look at their at a broad range of community organization endorsements. Endorsements from other judges are important too. Um, but listening to how a candidate talks about the role is one of the most important things to focus on. If someone is signaling outcomes or policy preferences during their race, that can be a red flag. It's important to so the legitimacy of the court depends on public trust, and decisions must be based on laws and facts, not politics. And so I think touching on those different sources and hopefully community engagement and hopefully meeting the candidates would also be helpful for gauging. But thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you for your grace with our technical glitch as we work
Mm,
between a few different lists. Now, Anita will move to question 3.
Which happens to do with artificial intelligence.
okay.
As artificial intelligence tools become more prevalent in legal settings, how have you observed their use in the courtroom? And what standards should guide courts in balancing efficiency with risks related to bias, reliability, and fairness?
Okay. So first off, if I notice AI in the courtroom, that is a bad sign, I think. If it is, in the cases where it has been noticed in briefing, that typically means somebody filing the briefing has not cited the case or checked the cases that they cited, which is a bad sign. Um, the right framework for integrating AI is um, a cautious integration. Um, it can be very efficient where it can help with efficiency where appropriate, but transparency, accountability, and reliability are real issues that are raised there. Ultimately, a judge is not an algorithm and has to exercise independent judgment. Um, I when I read a brief, I check the cases. I read all the cases. That's one way for me to ensure that it's not abused in court. Um, I do think that it can be a very handy tool for to help with editing, to help to assist in legal research. However, it needs to be um, lawyers need to check the work. It's all right to get the help from it, but at the end of the day, the lawyer is the one that typically has to sign a pleading, and it's important for that lawyer to make sure that any case that's cited is a real case. And as I kind of alluded to earlier, typically when a judge finds out about AI was used, it's because they're citing to a case that was not real. So I think caution it can be very helpful, but it should definitely be used with caution. And it yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. Our final prepared question will be asked by Will. Over to you, Will.
Yes, thank you. Sorry for reading the wrong question earlier. That's
Oh,
unfortunate.
no worries.
So, how do you proactively seek out furthering your knowledge and understanding of bias, diversity, inclusion, and accessibility? And how have you personally applied that to your work?
Okay. Well, I'm going to handle the question out of order just for my ease. I handle it on a daily, I address it on a daily basis as a judge in King County District Court. One of the most important tools that I use is before I make a decision, especially if it has to do with bail, conditions of release, um, imposing a sentence in a criminal matter, I consciously take a pause before I make a ruling to think about if any of my own implicit bias is entering into the ruling. The pause gives me not only a moment to identify what's going on within me, but also it gives me an opportunity to consider what may have been going on in the party with the parties involved, or whether there's um, any issues. Taking that pause allows me a little bit of time to consider those issues. So it's a very important technique that I use to try to keep my own implicit bias out of the way. Generally speaking, I'm a very curious person and I love to learn. And it's a lifelong process as far as I'm concerned. So I want to uh, learn generally, but also I am very I want to be a better judge. At each day that I approach the bench, I want to have learned something and just be a better judge. And part of that, a huge part of that, really is learning about how bias and systemic bias can affect decisions and how people experience it. One of the ways that I tend to approach it is by reading and studying. I try to keep prized on different studies that, oh, I guess, sorry, I ran out of time. I just wanted to mention one great study that came out recently is a gender justice study from the Washington State Supreme Court, and that's maybe the one of the latest things that I've reviewed that's been very helpful. But I just try to continue learning.
Thank you so much. We'll now go to follow up questions if there are any from Anita, Will, or Amanda. I'm going to pause here and see if there's any specific. Otherwise, I'm going to then call on Will as our law student, participant, and board member to ask anything that would be top of mind as a law student. Okay, seeing no technical follow-up questions from our board, Will, I'm putting you on the spot to see if there's a law student seeking some advice or any question you might have.
Yeah, sure. I have two questions. One of them, I don't know how relevant this is, but with like the National Immigrant Rights Project and some of the people about juvenile detention and sort of things that detention center in King County. I was wondering, how does your position get involved with the sort of immigration stuff, ICE agents, all that sort of thing these days, like with places that are in King County? Sorry if that's
Okay, and I apologize, but you were breaking up a little bit
I think we didn't
at
hear
the
your
beginning.
whole question. Yeah, Will, you cut out for a second in there.
I guess I was just wondering how your position interacts with the current, surge in immigration arrests and detentions.
Well, so there is a policy. I have a copy of it sitting on my chamber's desk, as well as on the bench in my courtroom, um, about how the judges are supposed to handle ICE if they enter the courthouse and if they enter the courtroom. So I have not personally had to address that. And I don't actually know of any King County District Court judge that has had to address that directly. That doesn't mean it hasn't happened. But there are policies in place, and much of the responsibility really falls on the chief presiding judge to address those issues. So ultimately, as the judges have been instructed, or the King County District Court policy is to observe, not get involved, not interfere, but have a single point of contact with the court, which would be the chief presiding judge.
Thank you so much. At this time, we would be happy to offer you a window that you could share with us anything that you haven't yet been able to share, any closing thoughts, reflections. We have a little bit more time here, and we would love to hand it back to you to just close us out. Thank you so much for joining us again today.
Oh, okay. I'm going to take a quick sip of water. So I just have a short closing. And so law was my second career. Before entering law school, I was a professional musician. I began studying music at an early age and continue to play daily, even now. I think the single most important skill music taught me is how to be in the moment and how to listen to myself, how to listen to those around me, and how to listen and think about how I can best work together with others to maximize the benefit to the whole and to strive to make the whole something greater than the sum of its parts. Um, I feel blessed, and I'm so proud to have been appointed to this position, and to be able to put the civil litigation experience that I have and the criminal law background that I have at work to serve our community. And, you know, I am doing my best every day to rely on my experience to ensure procedural fairness, consistent rulings, and the effective and efficient management of criminal and civil calendars. Most importantly, I pledge to continue listening to colleagues, court staff, and the people who come before me in court in an effort to grow as a judge and to strengthen the institution as a whole. I treat everyone, I strive to treat everyone who appears in court with dignity, respect, and partiality, so they may leave understanding the process they participated in was procedurally fair and just, even if they sought a different outcome. Thank you so much for your time and consideration, and I sincerely hope that you choose to endorse me. Um, and I also sincerely hope that you get a chance to enjoy the beautiful sunshine we've got today.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for being with us this afternoon. This concludes our interview. We'll stop recording.